I just watched the first episode of the Big Steps, Bold Stories podcast before recording this. And it is really cool to see my thoughts around everything and how I was so excited and expectant and couldn't wait for the journey to start. And I had no idea. I had a few guests lined up and I had no idea how it was going to go. And I am overwhelmed with such gratitude with the people that have come on board and who have prayed over this podcast and shared their stories on this podcast. It has been such a joy for my heart. One of the coolest things that has happened and that I've realized is I've been speaking with people that are doing things and succeeding at businesses that I have never thought of or dreamt of. And it's something that's so unique to them. And that's what I love about sharing these stories on this podcast is because everything is so unique to each individual person. We all have different dreams in our heart and different things that we want to do, accomplish. And yeah, I just love it. I just love the connection and learning about what people are doing because I think to myself, yeah, I bet I can do that too. Maybe I could. I don't know. But I want to definitely open everybody up to the idea and the possibility of what can be ahead for you, what can be ahead on this path of life that is laid out before you. So I'm very excited to get into this episode number 12 of the Big Steps, Bold Stories podcast. So let's take a moment and let's talk about your dreams. How are you going to accomplish them in 2025? How are you going to get started? And we all have that little voice in the back of our head that is telling us you can't do it. Or you wake up in the morning with the intention of getting things done, of getting started with your dreams and the ambitions that you have in your heart and the things that you want to share with people. And then you get tired and you're like, I don't feel like doing it today. We all have that voice in the back of our head. So I want to encourage you today to get going. And how to get started really is to just do it anyway. Do it no matter how you feel. If you feel happy, sad, angry, confused, whatever it may be, just do it anyway. It sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? But there's more to it than just telling you to get over yourself and get on with it and get it done. There's a lot to be said about taking action and creating momentum, and getting started is often the hardest part. Think back to the day when you wanted to go out walking. You probably didn't want to do it, right? It sounded like a great idea until the morning came and you wanted to stay in bed. But instead of staying in bed, you put your shoes on, you got out there, and by the time you're out there walking, you're like, man, I'm so glad that I did this. And that is momentum. It gets easier to get up, to put on the shoes, to get out the door. And you may even feel really happy that you made yourself do it. And at the very least, you felt relieved and grounded by the time that you got back. This is what I mean about doing it anyway. This concept of getting started and creating momentum works in all areas of your life. It works just as well for exercising as it does that laundry pile that you need to get to. The key is to get started and do it anyway. And when you feel like procrastinating and not doing anything, think about all the things that you want to get done on your list and pick the easiest one and then break it down into baby steps and just get it done. You will feel such a reward once it's accomplished. One of the things that has worked for me is bribing myself. If I know there's a movie that I want to watch, I will make sure I will say, okay, Vera, you've got to accomplish everything, highlight everything off your list. Then you can have Tuesday evening to watch your movie. And that motivates me. I don't know why it works, but it absolutely works. So I go with it. So I promise you, you'll feel a big boost of confidence once you get it done and when you make yourself do it anyway. So, say you want to start a podcast. Think to yourself, what is the worst thing that could happen? The worst thing that could happen probably isn't that bad, right? And sit down and really think about it. Like, what is the worst thing that could happen, right? Or imagine anything that could go wrong. What could go wrong when you're starting this new project? And when it comes down to it, probably not a lot, or probably not as major as you think it may be. It makes you realize that the worst outcome isn't all that bad, and you can handle it a lot better than you thought you ever could. And while you're thinking about all those things, chances are you're going to start thinking about all the good things that could happen. Even if things don't go as planned, you will get something out of taking that risk. Something positive will always come out of it. And it may even really surprise you how well things really go. Like when I started this podcast, I was like, I have some friends that I can connect with. I don't know if they're going to say yes. I don't know if they want to be part of the podcast, but I put my effort out, and I am actually quite surprised how many interviews deep I am into this podcast. I'm thrilled. I'm excited. There's so much goodness coming out of it. And it wouldn't have happened if I didn't just take the risk and take the leap to do it. When it comes down to it, there's nothing we fear more than the unknown. So when you make it known and you work through the process of it, it becomes less scary and your confidence goes up and up and up. And before you know it, you're on to bigger things that you never thought you would be able to do. We all have things that we enjoy and look forward to, and we all have things that we dread and don't want to do. The best thing that we can do is work on things that bring us joy, make us happy, and bring us confidence and a spark of joy when we're working on it. Because when you have that excitement, that then it helps the endurance of doing the things and the tasks that you don't like doing. One of the things that will build your confidence in any project is to just be prepared. Talk to the people that you need to talk to. Ask the questions that you don't understand. Ask things that are going to get you to the next step, the right next choice. You may be stuck on a really big idea, but if you reach out and you ask someone, maybe even Chat GPT, you can get an answer and go, oh, I can take that next step. And that's making me feel more prepared and ready to go for this project. Being around people that are doing the same thing as you and are farther down the road than you also really helps you feel prepared and more confident in what you're doing. Once you have that information, it becomes easier to determine what you need to learn and experience to be able to accomplish the next step. So I would like to invite you to this new adventure for 2025. What are you going to do that's in your heart and finally get it out and share it with others? And the best part is always helping others. I'm excited to tell you that for the month of December, I am going to be taking a break from this podcast because I need the month to prepare for 2025. I'm excited about 2025, and there's a lot going on, and I feel like this podcast needs some love. I've been putting it out week after week and not spending as much time gaining all the clips that I want to put out, um, fleshing out the blog a little better, making it look nicer, adding a sponsorship page. If you know anyone that wants to sponsor it, let me know. I feel like what we're building here is something that is the main focus is to help people really step into the calling that's on their life and to do it once and for all. And especially when it's something that you've had in your heart for years and you've never even shared with anyone. The last podcast for 2024, which is going to be next Saturday, next week, is Liz Wilcox, who is the Fresh Princess of email marketing. And she is so wonderful, and she shares so much wisdom and insight when it comes to connecting with your subscribers. And a fun little tidbit is that she was on the show Survivor on the last season that just ran. So I'm excited to share the interview with her, and that will be next week. And that is going to be our last podcast of this year. After that, I'm going to be putting out lots of clips of the podcasts that have already gone out, because if you haven't seen the whole podcast on YouTube or listened to it on the blog, then you're going to get lots of little snippets throughout the month of December. So I'm excited to take December to plan out for 2025, and I cannot wait to see you next week with Liz Wilcox.